Year 10 and 11, welcome to your quick revision on Mercutio in preparation for your GCSE exam. Some quick characteristics about Mercutio then and his role in the play. He is Romeo's best friend. He likes to have a good laugh. We know he adds humour to the play. He is optimistic, loyal and a good friend. When Romeo was depressed because of his unrequited love for Rosaline, it is Mercutio that suggests they gatecrash the Capulet party. Obviously a huge moment in the play. And later on, when Tybalt arrives to fight Romeo, Mercutio stands in for Romeo as he is loyal. And obviously that covers the theme of honour as well. Mercutio cannot believe that Romeo would sacrifice his honour in this way, so he fights Tybalt instead. When Tybalt stabs Mercutio and he's severely hurt, he attempts to joke by saying it is a scratch. But when he realises the severity of his situation, he dies, cursing the two households. His name then, Mercutio, it sounds like the word mercurial, which can mean volatile or touchy, unpredictable. So that kind of sums up his character there. He never backs down from a duel, and although he's neither a Montague nor a Capulet, he's involved in the feud on the side of the Montagues, obviously with Romeo. And he dies in Act 3, Scene 1. In terms of humour then, he makes fun of Romeo when Romeo says he's lovesick because of this love he has for Rosaline. He ridicules this love. And he is the character that claims it's false. That is huge. It is Mercutio that points out that Romeo's supposed love for Rosaline is actually a lie. Your quotation in red, that dreamers often lie. So Mercutio understands that Romeo's love for Rosaline isn't true and he ridicules him. He's loyal, as I said. When Romeo refuses to fight Tybalt, he stands in instead because he feels like Romeo has jeopardised his honour. And as we know, in Elizabethan society, honour was something that was valued. And he says, will you pluck your sword out of his pilcher by the ears, make haste. This shows Mercutio taking Romeo's place. And he taunts Tybalt, suggesting that Tybalt is too slow to get his sword out. And when he says make haste, he obviously is taunting Tybalt here, suggesting that actually Tybalt is a coward. We get this as well. Big quotation. I don't expect you to remember it all, obviously, but we get good king of cats, nothing but one of your 9 lives that I mean to make bold withal. And as you shall use me hereafter, I beat the rest of the 8. Will you pluck your sword out, Will's pilcher by the ears, make haste, lest mine be about your ears, here it be out. So as I said, he's going to uphold the honour of the Montague house, and he's passionate. He declares he wants one of Tybalt's 9 lives, which actually indicates that he thinks he's going to win the fight. And Mercutio says to Tybalt, will you walk? Questioning whether Tybalt will fight with him. Again, an insult. He's questioning Tybalt's honour and integrity, suggesting he's a coward and isn't really going to fight. As well as that, he's anti-romantic, isn't he? He's almost the direct opposite to Romeo. So he's anti-romantic and he's like the nurse. He thinks love should be physical. And this contrasts with Romeo's idealised notion of romance. So in Act 1, Scene 4, when Romeo describes his love for Rosaline using the image of love as a rose and thorns, Mercutio mocks this by saying, if love be rough with you, be rough with love. Prick love for pricking and you beat love down. So Mercutio turns on its head what Romeo thinks is unrequited love and hurt and just mocks him. If love's rough with you, you be rough back. As we know as well, he is dirty, isn't he? He lists Rosaline's body parts in a crude monologue, and he's making fun of Romeo and the blason. So remember, Romeo tries to use blason poetry, especially with Juliet, and we have this mockery again. Again, thinking about quotations, you don't need it all, just paraphrase where possible. I must conjure him, I conjure thee, by Rosalind's bright eyes, by her high forehead, and her scarlet lip, by her fine foot, straight leg, and quivering thigh, and the dimensions that there adjacent lie, that in thy likeness thou appear to us. So again, he's making fun of Rosaline's appearance, her eyes, her forehead, her feet, her legs, her quivering thighs, and he's verging on, again, making it dirty and physical. Don't forget as well, interestingly, at the beginning of the play, we have a lot of references to eyesight. And again, this is Shakespeare subtly showing us that what Romeo feels for Rosaline is artificial, it's false, it is not a deep love like the love he feels for Juliet. Dirty, again, we get this. Sorry, I keep flicking the slide. And wishes mistress with that kind of fruit, as maids call meddlers when they laugh alone. Oh, Romeo, that she were. Oh, that she were an open arse, and thou a poppering pear. And here we've got the metaphorical use of the pear to be a penis, and obviously the open arse and this idea of fruit. The fruit metaphor runs through Lord Capulet as well. Lord Capulet at the opening says that Juliet isn't quite ripe, and we've got this idea of fruit again. So where Romeo describes love in cliched ways with Rosaline, you know, the brawling love, loving hate, Mercutio is just purely physical, and this is how he contrasts with Romeo. The Queen Mab speech then it's a mythological fairy, doesn't it? But naturally he ends up talking about sex, Mercutio. So we get, that is the very Mab that plats the manes of horses in the night and bakes their elf locks in foul sluttish hairs, which once untangled much misfortune bodes. This is the hard when maids lie on their backs, that presses them and learns them first to bear, making them women of good carriage. So during Elizabethan society at the time, sleep paralysis, okay, was often explained as a demon sitting on the chest of the person suffering from sleep paralysis and having sex with him or her. So here Mercutio is seeing that women learn how to bear the weight of a man on top of them and learn how to bear children. So we get that in these lines, them first to bear, making them women of good carriage. And don't forget, we've got when they lie on their backs, which is synonymous and reminds us of the nurse, because one of the first things the nurse says when she's introducing Act 1 Scene 3 is about Juliet lying on her back. So you have Mercutio and the nurse is similar in the sense that they regard love as something physical, and they use it a little bit as mockery, don't they? Don't forget as well, the nurse says to Juliet, seek happy nights to end happy days. So there's always sexual references and sexual punning on the part of Mercutio and the nurse. His death then, the humour with Mercutio describes his, he uses humour to describe his fatal wound, which again shows us that he's humorous. No, 'tis not so deep as a well, nor so wide as a church door, but 'tis enough 'twill serve. So Mercutio's death creates sympathy for Romeo's enraged emotional reaction. His death marks a turning point in the play as the tragedy begins to overwhelm comedy. And obviously we know the fate of the protagonists, Romeo and Juliet, will darken here, because this is the turning point. And quickly after the deaths of Mercutio and Tybalt, we will be forced into the deaths of Romeo and Juliet as well. Don't forget, when he's been hurt, he shouts, "'Tis a scratch." And arguably his most famous line, which I've put it there on his own, "A plague on both your houses." Now he shouts that a couple of times as he dies, and the importance of this line is a couple of things. You have the more basic metaphor of he thinks the feud is a plague that has diseased the households, which has now led to the deaths of people. You have a more deeper meaning in terms of plague. When Friar Lawrence tries to send the letter to Romeo explaining that Juliet is asleep, not dead, it doesn't get there, because Friar John can't go through the village to get to Mantua because a plague has unleashed, and he's not allowed through because he'll catch the disease and spread it further. So the plague is one of Shakespeare's uses of fate. Fate preventing the lovers from having a happy ending. Fate ensuring that the lovers will die. Fate in this instance then ensures that Romeo doesn't get the message, and in fact the message he does receive from Balthazar is that she's dead. So a plague on both your houses is your houses are diseased because of this feud, and look what it's done to your houses. They are diseased. You can't get rid of it. It was a deadly disease at the time, wasn't it? And now the extra emphasis to that is the plague that prevents Romeo from receiving the letter. Okay, I hope that has been useful. Good luck in your English literature exam.